Hello there. This is Susan Echu with The Leaders World, and we are here for another wonderful episode. Why is it this special? It's this special because we have two special guests in the studio with us. And our first guest is Dr. Rukevwe Odjimogho. He's a medical doctor and a certified speaker, trainer, and coach with the Maxwell Leadership Team, and he's a development specialist as well. He's a behavioral consultant, certified with the DISC Maxwell of DISC training. He is a contributing writer to biblicalleadership.com. He is a physician, medical doctor at Windsor University School of Medicine, based on the beautiful island of St. Kitts and Nevis. He is the director of the university's health-based community service outreach and the Students for Health organization, which regularly offers free health screenings to the Federation's citizens. He is also a Doctor of Transformational Leadership student at the Baker Graduate University, Texas. He is deeply passionate about transformational leadership development because he firmly believes in the Maxwell leadership philosophy that everything rises and falls on leadership, and it takes teamwork to make the dream work. In addition to transformational leadership, Dr. Rukevwe is passionate about personal growth, mindset development, and living a life of audacious faith based on the Word of God. Apart from that, what else does he do? Well, he's a fitness enthusiast and he loves connecting with people. Ladies and gentlemen, join me, please. Welcome to the studio, Dr. Rukevwe. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
It's beautiful. I've been waiting for this day, and yes, the day finally came. I'm so happy you're here, ladies and
I'm so happy.
gentlemen. That's not all what we have for you in store today. And our next guest is somebody you've met before. He is not a stranger to the show. He is Adegoke Omotola. He is the CEO of First Degree Consulting. He is the author of Customer Retention and Experiential Approach and Practical Selling Skills. He is a speaker, a conference speaker, international speaker on Inc. platforms in South Africa. He is a former banking executive. He is also someone who speaks at various platforms apart from the ones that we've mentioned. He is married with children. Of course, his education is very, very elaborate. An MBA, an MSc in property valuation law, a BSc in finance, and so many other certifications, including being a trainer with the Zig-Ziglar Corporation, the Maxwell Leadership Team, and a host of others. I know you want to meet him, right? Yes, and with us in the studio today is Adegoke Omotola. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Susan, and great to meet you, Rukevwe. Thank you.
Great to meet you
It's
too, sir.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to meet you, gentlemen. Today we are going to be looking at a special topic that I know that it's a heartbeat of organizations, and that's organizational culture. And we'll be right back.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
Leadership and organizational culture. How relevant is this conversation, Dr. Rukevwe? How relevant is this conversation?
Well, once again, I want to say thank you, Susan, and it's a pleasure meeting you and meeting my dear brother, Mr. Adegoke. Workplace culture is important because I love this definition of Forbes, if I may, that says that workplace culture is the shared values, belief systems, attitudes, and the set of assumptions that people in the workplace have. Every place has a culture. A family has a culture. A business has a culture. And the culture of a workplace would go a long way in determining the caliber of people that you attract to the organization. It will determine if they stay with you. It will determine if they go. It will determine what the company is able to achieve, both on the short term and on the long term. It's going to determine the mental and emotional health of the people. It affects everything, because the workplace and culture is like the environment in which the business thrives. Thank you.
That was my next question, and I'll go to Sir Adegoke. Workplace culture. What is this whole thing all about? How relevant is it?
Well, if I can write on the definition of my brother, it's about the values, the beliefs, and the behaviors in that organization, and it's about also, attracting and retaining top talent. The vehicle basically is about the culture. The workplace culture. If the culture is right, you're able to attract the right people, and it helps also in terms of employee morale and job satisfaction as well. But if there's a disconnect, you find that even when you attract, you are not able to retain the right set of people. They just leave as they come in.
So Adegoke, you said if the culture is right, you're able to attract the right people. What is the right culture? And who are these right people?
Well, it's about having the right right mindset in terms of goals, in terms of communication, in terms of also the leadership, walking the talk. You can say this, this is your culture about leadership. You can say you are passionate about people, but if you're not able to walk the talk, then it leads to a loss, attrition, in terms of people that you get on board. So you need to be able to walk the talk, and it's also very important. This culture also evolves as time goes on. You find that, with COVID, the culture in most organizations, we've had hybrid, in terms of also, in terms of the skill sets. Even for us as speakers, we've had to acquire new skills to keep ourselves ahead of the curve. So I think it's not something you put in a box, or it evolves, but that's also what makes you also attract and retain the right kind of people. As you set your vision, you continue to tweak, recalibrate as you go along. So I yield the mic. Thanks.
We just want to sit here listening to you. This was so good. Listen, friends, if you're watching, listen, go call somebody. Send the link to somebody, okay? Watch it with your friends. Watch it with your colleagues. The ones you like, even those ones you don't like that much. Okay. And let us know what you learned from Sir Adegoke and Dr. Rukevwe in the comments, all right? And we'll be sure to respond to you. And if you have questions, yes, you can ask your questions, and we'll try to respond to those questions as well. You talked about the culture evolving, and I'm curious if that's what Dr. Rukevwe is also thinking about, this whole culture thing in organizations. Does it evolve like that?
Yes, it does, and especially organizations that want to remain relevant. They have to evolve with the time. For instance, he made reference to Corona. Another thing Corona brought to limelight was the importance of mental health. Today, mental health has increasingly become important, and companies that, because part of having a good organizational culture is that the company has structures and systems in place to cater for the wellness and the mental well-being of their employees. And I can assure you that companies that don't give a crap about the mental health of their employees and even go the extra mile to burden them emotionally and psychologically, the employees don't stay there. It's just a matter of time before they will walk away. So yes, there has been lots of evolution. For instance, it talked about the hybrid. Today, many companies they still maintain the hybrid structure. Some companies today have increased. They have had to give being deliberate about giving time offs to their employees, paid leaves. All right. I was reading about, is it Bubble that within in 2021, Bubble literally declared a month of wellness, and that 1 month they told all their employees to switch off their phones and just go off the radar. Okay,
Wow.
so yeah, you have to. They have been testing this four work day stuff. I think in the UK, they're trying. Some companies are trying to see how they can reduce it from 5 days to 4 days, just to give people time to relax, unwind, check
I'm
their health.
curious, did you have any follow-up on that? Like, did they have any positive results, and have like any results that they had not had before because of that? I'm curious, were you able to go into the research and find out the
I have.
outcome?
Well, I have not gotten deep into the research, but from what I gathered, some companies, what I read on the surface, some of the companies who tried this, they noticed an increase in productivity,
Mm,
and so some companies are even planning to, because they were supposed to do it for a pilot period of time, and
right.
some of the companies are planning to retain it as a practice.
Mm,
So from that alone, I believe they are getting some positives, but I've
mm,
not gotten deep into the research. But I know that from the way things are going, there's so many evolutions around these.
mm,
Corona changed so many things, and Corona made it obvious that many of the things you make workers do in a physical location, they could actually do it at home. So even though one is not advocating for stay at home full time, but one of the things that has changed is the possibility of having hybrid structures in organization, and especially paying attention to the mental health and the well-being of your staff. Thank
I
you.
mean, being a medical doctor, I feel you, doctor, that you're coming from that space of,
Oh
we don't
yes,
want people rushing to the hospital for stuff that they could have avoided by
avoid it.
just taking care of themselves. And
Mhm.
like, you know about this, is it TGIF? Thank God it's Friday syndrome of
Exactly.
people. Yeah, like people going to work and just dreading it, and Mondays being. Sir Adegoke, what do you think about workplace culture and the TGIF syndrome?
Well, I mean, TGIF, I mean, thank God it's Friday. It's also, I think it's also evolved, it comes from that place of wanting the people to also be more relaxed and be more productive as well. Because, there's even in Nigeria, there's a governor that just came in. One of the states, he said, every Friday they're going to have happy hour, after work. People would take drinks and, and he has become more popular, you know. So it's called the RPR governor, Um, so, I mean, it's got
Who sponsors the happy hour?
Only the government.
the
The
governor,
establishment?
yeah, and they also give incentives to companies that do follow suit, and yeah, just to make the people more productive, just encourage them. And I think all these things come from a place of feedback.
Mm,
When you realize that as you push
Yeah.
your people, um, it's also good to, feel the pulse of the people.
mhm,
When you drive them and they're unable to work,
mm,
what happens to the productivity? I
mhm.
mean, when we talk about leaders, the 5 levels of leadership, you talk about position, you talk about permission, you talk about production, people
Right.
development. And, it's very instructive that even as in, and the quest to get more, you have to be concerned about people. People don't
Mm,
care how much you know until they know how much you
Know how
care.
much you care.
yes,
As
True.
sir.
leaders, if you have I talked about compassionate leadership before we came on. If you're compassionate um, as a leader, it's also that's what trickles down into TGIF.
Mm,
Thank God it's Friday. You encourage the people to go and relax, unwind, and you get more from them. Yeah. So
mm,
that's it. Yeah.
mm. Well, that's interesting. I'm looking at some points which I've already, guys. I hope you're writing. Let us know in the comments, what are you picking up from Sir Adegoke and from Dr. Rukevwe. Okay, I'm writing down a lot, and I got like Dr. No, Sir Adegoke, you mentioned, you're the one that mentioned about the right mindset and the need for clear goals and communication and walking the talk. Like you just had a lot to say, but you stopped somewhere because you were like, let me hand
Yeah.
over the mic.
Well.
I
I think.
want to,
I
yeah.
think. I think even the speakers, what we need to realize is not the length of time that you talk, but yeah, it's what you're able to say within a very short time, so that it inspires, those who are listening, and they're able to come, they have a teachable moment where they're able to connect with themselves. So we're not just coming here to speak and sound very high, use very high adjectives, but we want to also touch and bring about transformation. So that's
Oh,
why I
yeah.
try to pause,
Oh,
so yeah.
yes. Thank you so much. I'm coming to you, Dr. Rukevwe, with these points that Sir Adegoke mentioned about goals, communication, walking the talk. Remember, we are talking organizational culture, workplace culture. Maybe you're somebody that's leading a volunteer organization, or you're just leading maybe a team um, to an excursion. How does this all play out with walking the talk, communication, goals, Dr. Rukevwe?
All right, thank you so much, Susan. Yes, so for instance, one of the organizations I lead is a volunteer organization.
Okay.
The Students for Health. It's a community service initiative of the school to give back to the community. So we go out, we train volunteers on basic health skills like how to take blood pressure, how to take blood sugar levels, how to do BMI, how to do counseling, and things like that. And in that organization, because it's a volunteer organization, you can't really force anyone. The goals matter a lot. The values matter a lot. For instance, they know that they know that this organization exists to give back to the community on one hand, and on the other hand, it helps them to build their skills. And because they have a clear vision of what the organization is for, they can assess when they are walking in line and when they are walking out of line. And they can determine if their values as future physicians aligns with this organization. Is this what they want to do? Is this what they want to be known for? Is this what they want to have on their CV? So the goal is clear. We are not existing because we want to help to sweep the community. We're not existing because we want to take pictures. We have a clear code. When we come to give free health. We come to give free health screening. And so because they know that they're not all over the place, and when they come, they know that they have specialized things that they're supposed to do. Then there's the issue of communication.
Yes.
In addition to the volunteers, I have my assistants that I work with. You need to, if your workplace culture, if you're going to have a good workplace culture, everybody needs to know what is happening. The last thing you want to have in an organization is where people are kept in the dark. You start creating segments. All right. You have companies where it's like everybody has a clique. The admin, they have their clique. Among the workers, you have your clique, and it's very terrible. I've been in an organization where communication was broken down. Like nobody knows what is happening. Sometimes a new staff comes into the place, and nobody even cares to tell you you have a new staff. You literally just walk into somebody and then, hey, hi, how are you? Who are you? Oh, I teach here. Like seriously, when did you come? so when you have that kind of breakdown in communication, there is no sense of belonging. And then what happens is everybody begins to do what they want to do. Like they say in the Bible, like the word of God said, everybody's out there doing what was right in their own eyes. If there is no communication, how do I know what the values of your company is? How do I know when I'm falling out of line? If there is no feedback, there is no communication from the top, how do I know when I need to improve? You understand? So going back to my organization is something I do also at the organization. Everybody knows what is happening. Everybody knows when they are in line and when they are falling out. We have parameters in place. And there's always frequent communication, even with my assistant. So everybody has a sense of belonging. It's not their organization, it is my organization. It's our organization. And to God's glory, by the grace of God, this is one of today. In fact, this semester, the admin had to ask me for a way to cut down on the volunteers, because what they started happening was too much retention. Last semester, we had over 50 volunteers. People come, they don't want to go, they want to stay
there.
They want to stay. And when more people come in, we have a system where the previous volunteers mentor the other volunteers. So there is so much onboarding going on. So that is communication aspect. We need to have communication. And then the last part he talked about was walking the talk.
Yes.
Wow. The single most important currency of a leader is trust. When you lose your trust as a leader, you have lost your authority to lead. I don't care who you are, whether you're a pastor, you are leading a volunteer organization, you are leading a school, you're leading a business. One of the tenets of a good workplace culture is less blame and more accountability.
Wow.
When leaders, like Dr. John Maxwell said, our leadership teacher would say, you should hold yourself to a higher standard than you hold others. Be hard on yourself and be easy on others.
Wow.
I can't tell you, for instance, we should be on time. Like one thing I teach them at the organization is, if we say we're starting by 4, you are late if you are there by 4. You should be there before 4.
Wow.
All right. Okay. So I can't tell you that, and I am strolling by 5 minutes past 4, and I'm expecting you to understand. Ain't nobody going to understand, because, like we are also taught, like Dr. John Maxwell will say, people do what people see. You can say all you want to say. Ralph Emerson said that your actions speak so loud, I can barely hear what you're saying. So in a good workplace culture, the leader is the one who determines. You determine the environment. If you want people to be respectful, you have to be respectful. If you want your people to come early, you should come early. If you believe that people should grow, then they should be invested in personal growth. They should see you investing in personal growth. If you are not walking the talk as a leader, you are going to break down the entire organization, and it's going to become toxic eventually. And people are just going to just, you know what, let him do his own thing. I'll do my own thing.
Oh,
Let
wow.
me rest my case. Let me rest my case
Oh,
here.
wow.
Thank you so much.
Don't we just want to sit here and listen to this? Why
This
am
is-
I not? Why am I?
I think Rukevwe is a professor of leadership.
No, please. Let's not start this.
Let us leave. Oh, we already
let's-
told you before we
please,
came on
we
here.
said, yeah.
Leave us to live long. Oh, don't say that. Anyway, for those who understand what I just said, okay, that's fine. If you did not, it's okay. You can check back, later on, and I'll let you know. Sir, Adegoke said something before we came live, about, wanting to learn from us. And we,
Call us senior
respectful
citizens.
African style, we were like, sir, let us live long. Oh, don't say that, because we are big and huge on respect like that. But this is so profound, and this is so deep. And I was almost saying that I'm finding it hard to walk away from this. It's like there is something we need to digest as far as this whole walking the talk and this whole faucet that Sir Adegoke opened to us about the mindset and the goals and the communication and the walking the talk. I just feel like there is still something we need to tap into. I'm not just able to walk away from this. Sir Adegoke, I'm coming back to you. Did you want to dig more into what you started and talk more to us on this, especially from your own experience as a leader, and as somebody that speaks to leaders nationally and internationally, sir?
Well, I think as a leader, in the past few years, even as have also evolved, one thing I realized is that you can't give what you don't have. In an environment where there's going to be growth, even leaders have to be learning. If you're not reading, your leadership would also be almost getting weaker and weaker. In the last few, since I came on your show the last time, I've had to go on different trainings, very intensive.
Wow.
Expose myself to more accountability, expose myself also to learning from my direct reports, because it's tough out there. When you want to walk the talk, it's a combination of so many things, employee engagement, and really engage your team members, know what is happening to them personally in their lives. It's not just about saying, oh, we have this culture, goals, we have productivity, but do you really know them? Which I talked about: production, then people development. One of the things about the horse is that the horse can be very skittish. It makes noise and so on and so forth. I'm so sorry, but if the if you want to make sure that the horse is not skittish, you have to have one hand on the horse and also have one hand, doing something else. Why do you have one hand on the horse? You want to make sure that the horse knows that you're there. Even as a leader, don't disconnect from your people. Always engage them, and you get their trust, just like Rukevwe said, and to earn the trust of your people is something you have to do on a daily basis. Just because they trusted you yesterday doesn't mean they're going to trust you today. So you have to, the tone from the top has to be very authentic. They watch your body language. They watch your communication. They watch, your consistency. They watch, the vision, how you're able to stay true. So it's a combination of so many things. So how do you engage your people? Come down to their level, not about sounding very high, share your failure stories, be vulnerable, let them know that even when they fail, that's not the end of the world. That, the opportunity to recalibrate, to be given a second chance is always there, So I just yield the mic. There's so much,
And we're coming back. Just, will you please just pause? Please do not stop. Just pause for us. And you're going to continue exactly from there, because while you were talking, I was having questions in my mind. And before I'm asking a question in my head, you're answering the question. Like, I was like in my head, like, oh, isn't this like too much, asking for too much from a mere mortal? And then you started answering the question about, hey, let them know that you are also a human being and you're growing and you're vulnerable. For us to give time for you to breathe, Sir Adegoke, Dr. Rukevwe, how easy is it to establish a beautiful workplace culture that lets employees actually want to remain even when they have the opportunity to leave?
Okay, let me start with this quote by Johann Goethe that says, everything is first hard before it is easy. It's not easy, but it's workable.
Okay.
The second thing I'm going to say is, it is also tied to the peculiarity of that leadership system. Not every leader would be successful at creating the good workplace culture. And the reason why I say that is, I need to know what has been happening in the organization before. If that leader has broken or lost the trust of his people, it is going to be a challenge trying to generate a good workplace culture. That said, how do you go about it? It starts from the leader. It always starts from the top, because everything rises and falls on leadership. And it's going to be a progressive thing. For it, there are different qualities of a good workplace culture. And so the leader can start with one thing. It could be positive working relationships, where you encourage your people. And you, of course, you are going to walk the talk as always. You come to the hospital, people should enjoy working with each other. I'm not saying you should be the best of friends. I don't want you, I mean, practically speaking, we cannot all be besties, but there should be this atmosphere of positivity. I come, I see you, I should genuinely say, good morning, how are you doing today? There should be this desire to want to help each other. All right, so you can start with that positive working environment where everyone looks out for everyone. Another thing is employee benefits. The leader could decide to take on that as well. And this is going to require feedback, where you sit down with your colleagues, you sit down with your employees, you sit down with your teammates, and you ask them, okay, this is what's up. We want to give back to you as a company. What are beneficial things we could do? It could be health insurance. It could be life insurance. It may not even be so massive like that. It could be timeout, where you as a company, every weekend or every other 2 weeks, you arrange a social gathering for your staff, just to appreciate them, just to show them that you care. A gathering where you're not talking about business, you're not talking about schoolwork, you're not talking about official work, you're just talking about their families. You come with your families, you come with your loved ones, you bond. So these are some practical things leaders can do. But the starting point is you are sincere about it, and you're going to take it step by step. There are like 13 pillars regarding having a positive workplace culture, and it's not something you're going to do overnight, but it's something you can do over time. Another thing I could talk about, for instance, is employee recognition. That is another tenet of a good workplace culture, where you as a leader, you decide that, okay, going forward, you are going to set up systems and structures in place where you are going to recognize and appreciate openly the work of your employees. That in itself is going to increase productivity, is going to boost their morale. It's just knowing that the little thing I do, and when I'm saying appreciate employees, not just the ones, the higher ups, it could be your janitor, it could be the security guard, the best security guard for the month. All right, just that everybody just has this sense. So the bottom line is, it's a step-by-step process. It is not something you can do overnight, but it's something you can do over time. Like Zig Ziglar said, you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. All right. So it's workable, but the leader is going to take a step-by-step process, look at the 13 pillars of a good workplace culture, and itemize them, and then get employee feedback, get feedback from your mates. So that, let me like my senior
You
colleague
want
would
to,
say,
you,
let me catch my breath. Let me put a
okay,
pause.
okay, friends, listen. Dr. Rukevwe and Sir Adegoke, they are bringing gold. You all see that. Like they are not holding back on anything. You need to let them know what you're learning from them. And we're going to put their information in the chat as well. You can connect and drink more from their wells. And we'll be right back.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
It is the Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute. And today we have Sir Adegoke, who is with us. He's no stranger to the show. And we have Dr. Rukevwe, who is joining us and just spewing out all these gems of gold everywhere. And thank you so much, gentlemen. We are looking at leadership and organizational culture. Leadership and organizational culture. And I'm just like looking, synthesizing in my brain and trying to look at where I should take off from here. But Sir Adegoke talked about the tone, the body language, being authentic. And I'm thinking, okay, what are some of those strategies? And Dr. Rukevwe told us that, hey, you can actually you can change your destination instantly, but you can change your direction instantly. So what are some of those strategies that we could actually use to improve workplace culture? Let's say there's somebody that's working that's working with a team, and right now they're looking and they're wondering, I don't really know where to go next. Maybe they are thriving already, but they want to up their game, or maybe things are really rough and they're wondering how they can unravel this and make it a positive outcome for themselves. What would you say, Sir Adegoke?
Well, I just want to speak also to diversity and inclusion.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I believe that even in organizations, you have different levels. You have different generations. You have the Gen Z, you have the millennials, you have the Alpha, you have the baby boomers. So you can have 5 generations working in an organization. So how do you manage? So you have to raise the bar, to be able to work in, with different generations, be able to be creative and not leave anyone behind, and that's one thing about leadership. And when we also look at diversity, I think for in terms of the women folk, what's the representation of women, even in your organization, if there are some organizations that don't really give women that opportunity. For example, if you find a situation when someone is not allowed to have more than one child and says, "Oh, 2 can be a burden," so you shouldn't have too many children. So that's not gender sensitive. You have to incorporate that as well, and also the workplace culture. Those who are physically challenged, what's your what's your strategy in terms of also access to your environment. The building has been adapted to help have access, to the physically challenged. I can go on and on. Let me just yield the mic.
And every time you're saying, let me just heal the mic, that's when we are like, yes, go in deeper. Give us some more. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
because we have a limited time of, we have a limited time. So by the time, even as speakers, we have to be conscious of time, Yeah.
I see you're practicing the compassionate leadership thing on us
Yeah.
here on the show. And I don't know if we're liking it or we are not, but I guess we'll just take it.
The area of diversity and inclusion, if we speak about it, we could be here for 3 hours, So I just said I should highlight.
Dr. Rukevwe,
Yes.
can we talk more about maybe the strategies for improving workplace culture?
Okay. I will just add a little more to what my senior colleague has said.
Why are you saying senior? I mean,
yeah, they want to call me professor. Yeah, they want to call me professor. So,
okay,
so another thing I will add is I'll just add a couple of points. There is accessible leadership teams.
Okay.
Yes. This lady, let me see if I can get her name, Colleen Rian. She said there are two types of accessibility when it comes to leadership. There is the active accessible leadership, and there is the passive accessible leadership. The active accessible leadership is where leaders actively go and meet their employees and ask them, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? How can we improve? They don't wait for the employees to come. They literally meet you. And I'm fortunate to work in the school I work here, the academic dean, he does it a lot. In fact, sometimes we try to avoid him. I hope he's not listening to this. If he meets you in the cafeteria, for instance, he wants to sit with you and just chat you up. How are you doing? How's work? How are the students? How are your new students? How are they catching up? How are they understanding? And is it burden? Is the burden too much? How's the workload for you? That, or there is the passive leadership accessibility, where you have companies having this open door policy. You can come to me at any time if you have any issue. Okay. The bottom line is one thing that could improve workplace culture is leaders should make themselves more accessible to their team. Like Dr. John Maxwell would say, be far enough to inspire your team, but don't be too far enough that you can feel their pulse. And when the people that you lead know, like my brother here, Mr. Adegoke, said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. When your people, when your teammates, when your employees know that you really care about them, they know that they have a leader who can go over and beyond. They know that you are sincere in what you do for them. They will go over and beyond for you as well. And it's just going to go into the organization. It's going to become because as a leader, you literally define the culture by what you do and what you don't do. So that is one thing I will say. Another thing I will add is more innovation. Strategies for improving workplace culture. This is where you pretty much you tell your team, okay, this is the vision of the place. This is what we have as a vision.
Yes.
But then you give them the autonomy to be creative. I mean, you don't micromanage them. Like, nobody wants to be well, there are exceptions, but you should trust your team members enough to allow them fail and learn from their failures. Like, you should create a culture where failing is not penalized. You should fail forward. You should allow them make mistakes. And once you create that culture of they should be able to know that, okay, I have the room to innovate, to create things, and I'm not going to be penalized. I can fail confidently, and instead of being penalized, I am going to be encouraged. I am going to be improved on. That's what is helping the likes of Facebook and all these mega giants. Not one man has a monotony of knowledge, but you create a room where people can try, right? And one more point so that I don't take the whole time. Let me add this one. Less blame and more accountability. All right. Where there is a culture of blame, there is a culture of fear. When you create this culture where, well, it's kind of similar, but it's another tenet of a workplace culture, where you create a culture where people, they're always going to be blamed for any little thing you do. So they live in this constant fear that I may do something that may upset the higher ups.
Right.
You risk having yes men people who you literally kill the creativity of your company when you have that kind of system. So a leader should, another thing you should do is try to blame your people less and be more accountable to them. Let it be a system of accountability, not just for the people but for you, the leader. They should see that you are answerable to someone. Let me yield.
Not to Rukevwe, not to interrupt, but to come back to you with something I've noticed and that I've been reading into recently about how leaders are more prone to micromanage when when the employees are not very competent. So the leader is like pushed to actually come into their space and want to like be over their shoulder to ensure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. How can that situation, let's say you have a new employee, you're not very sure of what they are able to do yet. How can you handle it in a way that they don't feel like they are being watched in a threatening way, or you're getting into the blame thing with them? How can you supervise without micromanaging?
Beautiful. That's one of the challenges again of leadership. But that's why again part of the what part of the requirements for a good workplace culture, like my brother said, is having clear goals and vision,
Mm,
which your new employees should know right before they're employed.
mm,
And then there is the onboarding process, which is part again of a good workplace culture. When you get a new employee, what system do you have in place to get them, you know, hit the ground running?
oh
Do you have a
yes.
training? Do you have something like
Mm,
an orientation? If
mm,
your company is a computer-based company, do they have the training where they know how to use the systems in place?
mhm,
And then they after that is in place, because they already know what your expectation is, you should have already let them know what your expectation is. Some companies even go ahead to tell you that within the first 3 months, within the first 6 months, this is what we expect you should have known.
mhm,
And so if within that time frame you have not met the milestone, you
mhm,
should expect that I am going to watch over you. I am going to check what you're doing. Now,
mhm,
that said, if an employee, after all you have done, is not still giving you what you want, it's
mhm,
one of two things. It's either that employee is mismatched with the position, they are
mhm.
doing something they are not really passionate for, in which case you need to have a conversation with the employee and see if you will have to probably reassign them if that
Okay.
opportunity is there, or you have to let them know what your expectations are. Or maybe it could be that you, the leader, you have become too fearful, because there are leaders who are so tight-fisted. They have this perfectionism mentality. If it is not the way I want, it's not the best way. And maybe you as a leader, you have to, because there are people, when you begin to micromanage them, they will leave the work for you.
Mm,
And okay, you want to do your thing, just do it yourself.
mm,
And in that case, they will not be giving you their best. So it's
mm,
one of two things. So if you have done everything you should, and the employee is not performing according to standards, it's time to have a conversation. It's
mhm,
either that employee is mismatched with the position, they are
mm,
not really fit for it,
mhm,
or maybe you are micromanaging them too much. Let
mm,
them know what you expect of them. Give them the space to do their thing, but let them know that this is the output that I expect of you.
mm,
And if you
mm.
don't meet this output, there may be some side effects. I
Adegoke, can you just speak into everything we've been talking about? I know that there are many thoughts that have been coming into your brain as we've been talking and you've been listening to us. We are looking at the strategies and this whole micromanaging thing. And what if the employee is incompetent or they are just new in the role and they are struggling? Should you just let them do their thing? And what's the approach that is good for positive employee workplace culture building?
Well, I think what is also instructive is that what's the recruitment process like?
Mm,
Even when you're onboarding the people,
mhm,
um, do you just take in someone because maybe based on sentiments, or there's a proper assessment that is done at the onboarding level,
mhm,
so which reduces that challenge of competence to the barest minimum. uh, so I think that that's very, very important. What's your recruitment process like? In terms of hiring. So it helps to give you that sound footing. Then so when you hire people, also what's the level of training that is being given from time to time, because the knowledge that we have, even when you look at us a year from now, are we growing? Is there a personal growth plan for even the employees in terms of their career path, the skills that are needed even for them to thrive? Do you continue to help them to gain some clarity? And so the issue of micromanaging, if they're well equipped, there's a module I did in the US in 2011. It's called Leading Empowered Teams for Service Quality. How empowered are your team members? Did they have the right skill set, the right mindset? In terms of mentorship, do you have such in place, within your organization? Let me just stop here. There's so much. Honestly.
How can employees be active contributors in the culture that they are part of, Dr. Rukevwe?
Okay. Again, like Dr. John Maxwell will say in his book, The 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork, it takes teamwork to make the dream work. You can write all your goals and do whatever it is that you want to do, but your people need to have buy-in into what you plan to do. So, for instance, let's look at the issue of employee benefits for the organization. You will need your employees to give you feedback on what benefits would really be beneficial for them.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, you understand. Like you can think of many things you want to do, but the majority of the employees, what do they think is present? You will need their feedback on that. The issue about having a positive working environment, it's not just a leadership thing. I mean, the leader could be as kind as he wants to be. If your front desk staff is very rude and your security guard doesn't have basic manners, it's bad. You understand? So everybody has to walk in. So that's in that way they can contribute to that. So everybody has a role to play. It could be an innovation, for instance. Okay, yes, the leader could create an environment that's provokes innovation, but the team members have to be interested in innovating things. Okay, so this is how everybody gets, and that is why the leader has to, and that's why communication is very important. The leader has to communicate regularly with the people. He has to let them know this is the vision and this is the role you play. It's very important. That's part of communication. Not just letting me know that this is the vision of the company. We want to do X, Y, Z. But you also have to let your employees know how the little thing they do contributes in a huge way to the accomplishment of that vision, of the mission. Many leaders don't do this, and so their employees don't really care. They don't see how, okay, arranging these papers together and sending this email does anything for the company. Meanwhile, it does so much. Like I tell them here, for instance, the front desk, the person at the front desk, she is the face of the school. If a prospective student calls the school, that person is not going to speak with the dean first. He's going to speak with the front desk. And like I tell them, that lady in the front desk, she can either make or break the school. She can determine if you have 20 admissions next semester or if you have no admissions next semester. You understand? So that is why, and everybody, they need to know. And that's why you also have to appreciate them and let them know that you are doing so much. But then everybody is involved. So these are little ways, depending on whatever it is you pick, the employees have a role to play.
Wow.
So I rest my
Thank you
case
so much,
You're
Dr. Rukevwe. This is so good. This is so good, guys. Put it in the chat. What did you learn? What are you learning? What questions do you have? Sir Adegoke, what is the place of maybe employee feedback as far as building this whole positive culture that everybody has a sense of belonging and they feel like they're part of the organization and they're also growing and while the company is growing?
Well, I mean, I think that, feedback for any organization that wants to succeed, I think feedback is about 36%, in terms of success of any organization. If you don't have any feedback mechanism in place within the organization, then even when feedback is given, are you willing to accept it, even as a leader? Or you take it out on those who have given the feedback and begin to victimize? So you have to be very intentional about feedback, and also do surveys. Have channels, different channels of engagement. Either you have via email, it could be through your Instagram page, it could be touch points. You call them customer touch points. What touch points do you have in terms of extracting, getting feedback from your people? Some, they might not be able to walk up to you, and engage you one-on-one, but there must be channels open, and those channels must also be, you must also do, evaluate, regularly, not just for you to say, oh, you can drop your feedback anywhere, and there's a pile of feedback and you have not even gone through, and it's just like people just know, oh, once they give their feedback, nothing happens. It's just the same thing. So you have to do evaluation and appraise, and really take it, as an opportunity for you to grow. They're almost like your accountability partners. They give you something to work on, and if that culture is within the organization, the organization continues to evolve, and you're also able to, like I said, retain talents, within it, because they trust you and say, look, once they share their thoughts, and it encourages, like Dr. Rukevwe said, it encourages creativity and innovation within that organization. When you look at the Apple, you see the iPhone 10, 12, 13, 14, they get feedback, even internally from their people, and it helps to create a very robust organization. I yield the mic. Thanks.
Thank you so much. What are some of the potential challenges? We are talking about organizational culture, building a positive one. There's a lot that has been said. We heard about the 13 pillars. I'm just going to research this right after this. What are those? Why haven't I heard of them? I need to go find out what they are. The 13 pillars of workplace culture. Guys, did you?
Well, like.
Yes, doctor. You started something that you didn't finish. Oh, I don't know if you have enough time to finish it here. And you've talked about the need to align and ensure that your employees are in alignment as far as clarity. With what the goal, the vision of the organization is, to avoid cliques and segmentation in the workplace. We've talked about the importance of communication, that building that sense of belonging. We've talked about trust. We've talked about integrity. There is just so much that has been talked about. But what are some of those challenges as far as building this workplace culture, this positive workplace culture? What are some of the potential challenges that we could meet, Dr. Rukevwe?
Okay. The first one could be resistance to change. Yeah. People generally don't like to be changed. And the response to change, the first response to any form of change is always resistance, especially depending on which aspect of the workplace culture you want to change. For instance, if a leader wanted to increase employee benefits, let's say he wants to bring in like medical and health insurance, let's say a health insurance into the company. He has people to answer to. He has stakeholders to answer to. He may have this beautiful vision of wanting to make sure that every member, every employee in the organization is insured, but he has to get the pass of the higher ups. He has to get the passive investors. That could be a challenge in its own self. Um, there is the issue of innovation. Yes, the leader could create an environment that brings in innovation,
Mm-hmm.
that stimulates innovation. But what if he is working with people who like things to remain the way they are?
Right.
This is how it has always been. Why do you want to change it? It has worked for us for the last 20 years. Why do you want to change it? This is how we have always been doing things. Why do you want to change it? Like there are people till tomorrow who don't believe that hybrid is anything good, even when it has positives. There are people who were mad that people had to go home for online work. All right. And the moment Corona showed that it has gone, they want them to return. So there is that issue of tradition. There are people who are just traditionally based who
Right.
don't want nothing to change. Okay. So that's another challenge that you have there. Um, the other thing there I will bring out here is the issue of positive working relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that could be a challenge for a leader as well. There are people who are just so introverted, they don't give a crap about others. Just allow me come to work, do my thing, and get out. Nobody should ask me any questions. And
That's
when you
how I am positive, by avoiding people. Just give me the papers, give me the pen, give me the tools. Leave me alone.
yeah, right. You don't look like an introvert. Well, you are a very outgoing introvert. Let me put it that way. So, so
I've,
that
I've
could be,
been I've been there, done that. So I know
yeah.
exactly how
So
that feels
yeah,
and how that, so I'm
you know.
intentionally learning to,
Hmm.
use my positive eyes, the eyesight of me. I'm trying to like shape it and make it serve me instead of letting my see dominate me and keep me away from the places I'm supposed to be and the people I'm supposed to meet, like you, Dr. Rukevwe and Sir Adegoke. And you know what? This is not my favorite time of the show because we are running up and we are
Yeah.
going to close up soon. And we are looking at those potential challenges, Sir Adegoke, to building a workplace culture that's positive. Did you want to speak into that, sir?
Well, finally, I just like to say that workplace culture, there must be, that evidence of leadership support. If any of these staff employees they drop the ball, it shouldn't be an environment where there is victimization.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let people know that yes, you can drop the ball, but there's
Mhm.
always a second chance. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always a second chance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I like how you say there shouldn't be any victimization. Let employees know they can drop the ball. I was speaking with somebody recently who was sharing about a boss at the workplace that actually would say things like you make a mistake and he would say things like even in to the hearing of others, and it's so demoralizing. Like I'm just like, does he want to keep anybody there at all? So we are drawing our curtains on this episode of The Leader's World. um what has your journey been, Dr. Rukevwe, your journey of leadership? How has it been for you? And what would be your final words to our audiences? There are people who would come here and watch it and share it with others just because they heard your wisdom. What would you tell them about your journey, and what would be your final words as far as this show today?
Okay. Well, my journey is, I would say, it's almost a Nollywood movie. It's almost a Hollywood movie of its own.
Ooh.
But um, uh, what I could say is, by the grace of God, like Apostle Paul said, by the grace of God, I am what I am. I have seen that leadership was something God gave to me, and I have countless life experiences to prove that. And I'm not going to go into that because of time, but I have seen that my leadership journey, the summary of it is God has led me every step of the way, has brought me to people, connected me to people, and then connected me to the John Maxwell team. And now today he's connecting me to these two lovely souls together with your husband, Ralph. So that is it about my leadership journey. Time wouldn't permit me, and the viewers should please permit me. I don't want to take up all the time. But what I will say is, like Dr. John Maxwell will say, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less, which means that anybody can lead. You don't have to have a fancy title. You don't have to be the boss of a company. You don't have to head an organization. At least you have a family. Or at least there is somebody that is a friend who looks up to you. If you are influencing someone, you are already a leader. And because of that alone, invest in your leadership growth. And that is all I'm going to end on. Thank you so much.
You heard Dr. Rukevwe. Invest in your leadership growth. Mic drop. Invest in your leadership growth. Mic drop. Sir Adegoke, there are people that are going to come here to just watch this because they know you, or because they heard one thing you said in the previous broadcast, or because they started and they were like, "Oh, who's this guy?" And they just, what would be your final words to them? And maybe you want to tell us a little bit about your journey, and then what would be your final words to them?
Well, I just want to celebrate Susan and also Rukevwe as well for sharing the nuggets. I say that both of you have really shown your pedigree and what you stand for, and I believe that there's so much that's about to be revealed, positive things in your lives. So thanks for giving me the platform to share. Well, I'm just work in progress. I'm a learner and still learning continuously. I believe that also just be yourself. We always want to present our best, but people can see through you. So just be yourself. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay, that's it though.
Yes.
So, well, listen, Sir Adegoke just told you. He just, listen, this is my paraphrase. Calm down, okay? Just calm down, okay? Calm down, chill, just be yourself, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World